Hey, what's going on, guys? This is AndrewChicken and welcome back to another video. I was reading through the comments on my last video and I stumbled across a very simple but very smart idea for a video, and that is to make a video going over one loadout for every single champion. Surprisingly, I haven't done one of those yet, so I figured let's make a video where I discuss one of my favorite loadouts for every single champion to give new and returning players a jumping off point for any character that they want to explore. Now, of course, I do want to point out that a lot of these builds will be sort of meta-oriented, but not necessarily all of them will be like the tip-top meta thing, but all of them will be at least very viable and, in my opinion, very fun. So yeah, why don't you go ahead and get yourself a delicious glass of water, make sure you're subscribed, and let's get started. Up first, we have Androxus, and I am infamous for being the world's worst level 100 Androxus player, so I suppose maybe take this build with a grain of salt, although I can assure you it is a very good build, I'm just bad at playing it. And that is my Godslayer build, which Godslayer is my favorite preferred way to play this champion. Other people do prefer Defiant Fist more for its quick burst that you can get on punch. That's great too, but since I know Godslayer the best, that's what I'm going to show you here. And while I do have my meme spam build, that ended up being one of my best videos of all time, that's not actually what I normally play with Godslayer. What I normally do play is this build called God Hunter. So what we have here is a mix of Nether Step cooldown reduction, reversal cooldown reduction, and then a bit of movement speed, which really helps out. So Power of the Abyss is a fantastic card for Androxus. It gives you 80% cooldown reduction on Nether Step after hitting an enemy with reversal, and since you're playing Godslayer, this is almost guaranteed as long as you can actually hit the projectile. And you do not want to run this card at level 5, because, well, let's use my dash, and then pop the reversal, and by the time the reversal is over, my dash has already had its cooldown recover by 20%, so the extra 20% you would get from having the card at level 5 is completely redundant. You're wasting a loadout point if you run it at level 5, so do not run it at 5. And then we have Seething Hatred, which gives powerful cooldown reduction on the reversal after hitting an enemy with my weapons. So if I have no Chronos, I throw it a reversal, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5... Did I seriously just miss? I was looking at the cooldown, I wasn't looking at Fernando. But yeah, you get your reversal back much quicker than you otherwise would, and if you do buy Chronos, this is even faster, so it's pretty much a mandatory card if you're playing Godslayer. And yeah, do not skip it. Then we have Elusive. This is a very nice card. I run it in pretty much every single Androxus build I have. It gives movement speed after activating Nether Step. It scales very strongly, 40% at level 4 for 3 seconds after activating Nether Step. So I can do this, have really fast movement speed. Oh my gosh, I'm missing again. I'm focused on the commentary. But then yeah, I can get my reversal, do that, and basically get my Nether Step back. And we can just keep this cycle going, get another reversal, boom, just like that. And I'm not doing the greatest example of showcasing it here because, again, I'm focused on talking, but you get the point. So this all synergizes really well together and makes, in my opinion, a very excellent Godslayer build. The filler cards are pretty much up to your personal preference, so I have Abyss Walker and Marksman slotted in here, but you can slot in pretty much anything you want. You could go for increased dash distance on Nether Step, Watchful for even more cooldown reduction after elimination, Healing during Drift if you want to spend a lot of time airborne. Some people prefer Sleight of Hand over Marksman. You could also even go for more cooldown reduction with Disrupt. You could run this at level 2 and get an additional 2.4 seconds off your reversal, which basically saves you one shot from Seething Hatred. So that's another excellent card. I do prefer having Abyss Walker just for a little bit of extra self-sustain, but yeah, a lot of options there, so feel free to switch it up however you want. Next we have Ashe, and I'm going to show you a rather flexible build that can be used for multiple talents. Slugshot or Battering Ram are what I have designed it for, but I suppose you could theoretically also use it with Fortress Breaker if you want. And this build is my health build. It's a very simple build that revolves around becoming tanky and having decent uptime on your abilities. So you have Heavy Metal level 5 for a bunch of extra health, allowing you to sustain way more damage, and this is paired in tandem with Vanguard, which gives you additional damage reduction after using Shoulder Bash. And then we have War Machine, which also gives you cooldown reductions after getting Elimination, which allows you to have very good uptime on all your abilities in general. And this allows you to be, obviously, very tanky. We have over 5,000 hit points on the left side of the screen, and whenever I cast this, I get a major amount of damage reduction. And as you can see, we get an elimination there, and my cooldown on Shoulder Bash is almost back, and boom, I have it again. So we can keep spamming and spamming and spamming and just going around and doing all sorts of aggressive plays with Ashe. Once again, the filler cards are up to your personal preference. I have Siege Engine for a little bit of extra cooldown reduction on Siege Shield. Pretty decent level 1 filler, I guess, because it scales so high. And also Gatecrasher for even more cooldown reduction on Shoulder Bash. Now, an alternate version of this build, if you don't want to rely as much on eliminations, would drop War Machine in favor of Gatecrasher at a high level, which would ensure that you get consistent cooldown on Shoulder Bash, albeit not as powerful if you're able to get especially multiple eliminations in a row. So that's another way you could take this build, and that would be just fine. But yeah, it can work with Slugshot. The general health, the general utility of the build will work for that. But I did originally design the build for Battering Ram quite some time ago, which also, you know, just generally works with the vibe of the build because it gives you even more damage reduction while using Shoulder Bash. So you have all this extra health, and then you get a big burst of damage reduction, and then you continue with a weaker version of damage reduction for the next 2 seconds after your Shoulder Bash is over. And yeah, with the cooldown reduction, you were able to spam that even more. Bam! Kill the Victor, already down to an 8-second cooldown, and you can also pair this with Kronos if you want. Next up, we have Atlas, and you don't get much better than my main build. This is a build that can theoretically work with any talent. I use it for either Deja Vu or Temporal Divide. Generally, you don't like to use Unstable Fissure with Atlas these days, but Deja Vu can be very good if you want consistent uptime on the Stasis field. Temporal Divide can be good if you want cross-map coverage, and whichever talent you choose depends on the situation you're in. But let me show you the build. This is a very simple build. It's got all the keynotes you need in an Atlas build. First of all, Phantom Pain, by far the most important card in any Atlas build. Do not play Atlas without this card, please, because it just makes such a difference with the uptime of your Stasis field and the general synergy of your abilities and the general chaining of, you know, put up a wall, then when the wall expires, you can self-rewind, hit your own rewind on the enemies, and then boom, you got another wall, and you can just keep that cycle going indefinitely. Really good card. Then we have Hellhunter level 1 filler, probably his best level 1 filler, because it gives you infinite ammo if you're only charging your weapon shots. So you full charge a weapon shot, shoot it out, boom, you get your ammo back, you can keep that going indefinitely. Old Wounds, very nice card, increases your max health. Atlas normally does not have a lot of health, only 4,000 by default. This brings it up to almost 5,000, which is a very solid increase. And then lastly, we have Safe Haven and Distant Memory. Now, I really like both of these cards on Atlas because they both increase your healing received. Now remember, Rejuvenate got reworked to increase your healing output. That no longer counters Cauterize, but healing received effects, like these cards, like Earthen Guard from Inara, Nyx's passive, etc., those still counter Cauterize, which makes these cards extremely powerful. Distant Memory will turn 90% Cauterize into, what is that, 75%? Yeah, math is mathing? So that's a major increase to your late game healing, and in general it just works really well, especially if you have a good support on your team. Now, I have Distant Memory higher than Safe Haven, and the reason I do is because generally when you're at low HP, you want that increased healing more, and you won't always have your Stasis field active in order to get that increased healing when you need it, so I find this to be more consistent, even though Safe Haven does scale higher. Both of them are very nice, and depending on your playstyle, you could put one higher than the other, or you could put them equal to each other. That's another option. For Azaan, we have another classic build here, and this is my Pin build, which has Distance Traveled by Conviction at level 5. This card is really, really nice for extra mobility on Azaan, which is one of his strongest points, because he can get some crazy cross-map traversal, especially when using the talent Tempering. Now, this build is also used with Persistence. It's basically just a general build. Azaan doesn't have too much build diversity, so yeah, technically you can use it with Eternal, but never ever play Eternal. It's trash. So yeah, this build has that Distance Traveled by Conviction at level 5, that's the key part of the build. Then we have Tools of Salvation and Grim Deliverance for general sustain, two very excellent cards. Just increasing your max health, always very good, especially because it synergizes with his DR passive, so you increase your HP by a ton that way. And then also Grim Deliverance gives you additional healing. Another one of Azaan's strong points, especially with Persistence, is having that great self-sustain. So yeah, it generally just focuses on improving what's already strong about Azaan in a very good and synergistic way. Next up we have Barik, who is one of my favorite tanks to play, and this is the build I'm going to be showcasing. It can be used with either Fortify or Tinkerin. It's not really a Forge Fire build because it doesn't have that much emphasis on the turrets, but what we have here is Brave and Bold, because similar to Atlas, Barik is a tank with very little health. As you can see, with this card at level 4, we get ourselves to Atlas's base HP. Barik is very squishy, so that extra health really helps out. Whoops, what am I doing? And then we have Failsafe at level 3, which is a very nice card when you pair it with Fuel Efficiency. This combo allows him to turn Rocket Boots into quite a nice movement ability for juking, general repositioning, chasing targets, following up on kills, the whole shebang. And also, of course, Failsafe scales even better when you have Brave and Bold, because you have more of an opportunity to get this card to proc and actually live to tell the tale. So all of that works really nicely together. And then we have Bowling Ball for an additional shield after activating Rocket Boots, which is a nice boost to his health. It scales just as high as Brave and Bold, so whenever you proc Rocket Boots, boom, you get that extra 600 HP, and then if you get low again, you'll basically get that Rocket Boots back again, Bowling Ball will proc again, giving you an opportunity to get behind cover, save yourself, all that wonderful stuff. So it's generally a very classic playstyle for Barik, and one that I find myself enjoying greatly. Oh boy, it's Betty La Bomba. Alright, let's make this quick. I don't really like this champion, but I do have a pretty decent build for her, which is my cluster spam build. This is just focused on dumping out as much area damage as possible in the form of her cluster bombs. We have max health for survivability, very important on this champion, especially with how vulnerable she is to flankers and damage champions. And then yeah, increase the radius of Cluster Grenade, reduce the cooldown of Cluster Grenade for each enemy hit by the initial and secondary explosions, and yeah, just look at how easy it is to spam these. Boom, boom. Okay, we're gonna have another one here in a second. Actually got a pretty bad example of that, because one of the bombs got flung so far away, but boom, there we go, and then we got another one. And yeah, this scales extremely well when the enemies are grouped up on a map like Ice Mines, which is where you want to be playing Betty anyways, and bonus points if you have deployables on the enemy team, like Grohk's totems, Barik's turrets, etc. That cluster bomb did not spawn any children. What? Oh boy, shooting range is very buggy sometimes. Unlike Betty La Bomba, I absolutely adore this champion, and just like with Azaan, I have a full guide on him linked in the description. So the build I'm going to show you today is the build that I usually end up playing if I want to try to win. It's a very fun build, but it's also a very serious build. So this is my ammo build. We have King's New Cloak at level 5 for the maximum health boost, which is always very nice, especially because Bomb King, with a very large hitbox and a very large head hitbox especially, is super vulnerable to a lot of damage champions, especially hit scans like Lian and Talus. So you want to get as much health as you can if you're trying to play him seriously. Then we have Backdraft, possibly his best card. It reduces the cooldown of Poppy Bomb by 0.4 seconds for each sticky bomb you detonate. So yeah, it can just pop you in, and then pop you in again, and then you can see Backdraft go to work on the cooldown. Each time we detonate a bomb, we just get a little jolt, and boom, we got our Poppy Bomb back way faster than we would otherwise, which, you know, his Poppy Bomb is extremely amazing if you know how to use it right, so very important to have that up all the time. Then we have Reinforced Casing for max ammo, and this is another very good card. Very simple card, but as you can see, he has a default of 6 ammo, and when you increase it by 4, you're almost doubling the capacity of your ammo, meaning you spend a lot less time reloading. And, well, you don't want to have to reload with BK. It's a pretty long reload. And, yeah, in the heat of the moment, if you need to take out 1 or potentially 2 enemies, having this much ammo means that, yeah, you can just spam, 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 and boom, take out the both of them, just like that. Alright, it's Buck. You probably know which build I'm going to showcase. It's the classic Bounce House build. Take a look at this. We have Stomping Ground at level 5, one of the most powerful cooldown reduction cards in the entire game. Reduce all cooldowns by 70% after getting an elimination. Buck is all about snowballing. This card helps him snowball so much. Then we also have Momentum at level 5, which reduces your damage taken by 25% for 4 seconds after using Heroic Leap. One of the best damage reduction cards in the game. Frickin' fantastic, especially if you can get a kill and then refresh it again with Stomping Ground. Then, as our fillers, we have Leg Day, which increases the jump strength of Heroic Leap by 10%. Just a nice little boost to his mobility. I find that if you don't use Leg Day, his jump is just a little too short, so this really helps. I have Vigor as well for increased ammo regen after activating Recovery, although you could possibly do this if you wanted, and make Leg Day even stronger. And then I have Exhilarate, which just is a nice bonus to the Heroic Leap cooldown if you are not able to get a kill. And yeah, look at this. Boom! Squish! And then I have another leap just like that. And alright, I killed him, and then reload a little bit, and then we got another leap. Boom! Just like that. Pop this, get some ammo back, and yeah, look at that. We just keep snowballing and snowballing like there's no tomorrow. Squish! So yeah, it's very fun. Full transparency here, Caspian's not someone who I have too much expertise with, but the build I generally tend to use is this. It just makes him as slippery as possible, really emphasizes the mobility that he has, with the finer things at level 5, and then Deadly Flourish and Swift Strikes both at level 4 to increase the effectiveness of Deadly Momentum. And I find that the Deadly Momentum, by default, is just a little too slow for my liking. I find that it feels much better to use with these cards at that level, because look at how fast and slippery it is, compared to a build that doesn't have it. So yeah, for Cassie these days with the Blast Shot buff, you'd be foolish not to use an Impulse build with the card Blast Shower, which reduces the cooldown of Blast Shot by a whopping 2.5 seconds for each enemy it hits. And I just pair this with Tumble for increased max health, Kinetics for increased ammo regeneration after hitting an enemy with Blast Shot, Quiver for extra max ammo, and Drain Life for a little bit of self-sustain. And yeah, if you get enemies in an ideal situation where you got 3 of them grouped up, look at that, you can just spam blast shots like that. But even against Fernando here, you can see I hit him and get just a massive cooldown reduction. Okay, Ying's kind of messing it up. Let me kill her and let me blast shot Vic. You see we have a 6-second cooldown on blast shot, down from a 10-second cooldown by pairing Impulse with this card. And yeah, if you hit 2 people, you get a really low cooldown on it as well. Boom, hit that Victor. That's less than a 3-second cooldown. I mean, that is phenomenal. Corvus is all about applying buffs to his team and general utility, and that's what my favorite build for him reflects. Now, this can either be used with Dark Gifts or Spreading Influence, but generally you want to play Spreading Influence with this character unless you're doing some funky pocket stuff, in which case, yeah, go play Dark Gifts. But the build looks like this. We have Shadow Tribunal to maximize the healing done to other allies who are marked with Abyssal Reconstruction. Then we just have Abyssal Affliction and Crushing Expectations for movement speed and damage reduction for my allies. Now, it is important to note that Abyssal Affliction does stack on itself, so you can potentially have moments where your teammates have 8% damage reduction from this card instead of just 4, which is very nice, but you do need a very low cooldown for that. So you would want to max out Chronos. And then if I mark Fernando over here and then heal him, you see I have a 2-second, actually less than 2-second cooldown on that. And because the cooldown is so low, I am able to give him 8% damage reduction instead of 4%. But if I were to heal him without the mark, then I wouldn't have that extra 1 second of cooldown reduction, and then it would be a lot harder to overlap the card. But yeah, in general, this build is very nice for just supporting your team and keeping them alive. And then yeah, we have Price of Salvation and Battle Ready because you do want to have some self-sustain as Corvus, because otherwise he is very, very squishy. So I'm going to deviate a little bit from the meta builds and show you my favorite build for Dredge instead, which is still perfectly viable, especially if you're good at Dredge. It's just not like the hard meta, oh, sweaty try-hard Dredge sort of build. And it's an Abyss Spike build, which is the only talent that doesn't involve brain-dead spamming of abilities, whether it's your reload or your harpoon. So Abyss Spike allows you to throw the spike into the terrain, and it'll detonate after an enemy comes near with a little bit of a fuse time, as you can see, before it'll actually explode. So yeah, it can do a lot of damage. It can also catch enemies off guard. There's no indicator for the harpoon that is going to explode, apart from just the visual of the harpoon being stuck in the ground. So it's very fun, and unlike Hurl, it does retain the slowing effect of the harpoon, which makes it very powerful for getting enemies trapped within your ultimate. Boom. Oh, look at that. And the build I'm pairing this with is a build that has Hull Piercer at level 5 for cooldown reduction on the harpoon, obviously very important with Abyss Spike. Never use this card with Hurl though. We also have Crow's Nest at level 5, which is the other component of this build that makes it ridiculously fun. This makes it so that when you hit yourself with your broadside, you actually send yourself flying, and this is a very fun movement ability to use, although it does take quite a lot of practice. But look at that traversal we just got out of it. That is ridiculously fun. So, yeah, if you're good at it, it can be a very nice tool for Dredge, an extra little thing in his arsenal, and it really gives the broadsides a lot of utility that they otherwise don't have. On top of it, having the card in your build also gives you superior air strafing. I don't know how well you can notice it here, but the air strafing is significantly faster. And, yeah. If you want to see someone who's really good at that sort of gameplay, then go watch XSTB. He's the person who mains Dredge with Crow's Nest and does absolutely unfathomable things with this character. Otherwise, we have Sea Dogs and Dreadnought for a little bit of self-sustain. Increased healing received, like I mentioned earlier, is a very powerful buff right now because it actively counters Cauterize, and max health is always good to have. Then we have Expansive Vault, which increases your jump height for your first jump after exiting a shortcut. So you put one shortcut down, put the other shortcut down, and then enter the shortcut, and for the next 2.5 seconds, as you can see, we jump a lot higher. Ooh, not high enough to get up there, sadly. But that's also another very nice movement tool for Dredge, and if you're not using it as a level 1 filler, then what the heck are you doing? All of Drogoz's talents can be very good and viable in the right situation, but the one I want to show you today is Combustible because I think it's the most satisfying. This talent allows you to do this! Whoa, look at them go! They're flying, they're on fire! It's just such a satisfying thing. And, well, you can make a build that really emphasizes this playstyle by using the card Masterful here at level 4, which reduces the cooldown of Fire Spit by 2 seconds for each enemy hit by it. It has a massive explosion radius. If you send it at a group of enemies, you're going to get your Fire Spit back very quickly. Boom, hit that, hit 2 enemies, and I'm going to have a Fire Spit right now. Throw that out again, and boom, hit the Vic. It does have an internal cooldown, though, so you're not going to be able to spam them indefinitely, but it still vastly improves your uptime on Fire Spit. And then we can run cards that generally help Drogoz for getting around and staying alive. Rain of Fire is one of his best cards, consumes 60% less booster fuel for 5 seconds after using Thrust. What the heck is that scaling? That is insane. So this is basically the only card you need to maintain infinite flight with Drogoz, paired with Condescension to reduce the cooldown of Thrust for each enemy hit with Fire Spit, which only at level 2 provides 2.4 seconds of cooldown reduction. Drogoz's cards are bonkers with how well they scale. If other champions had these cards, they'd be OP. And yeah, the only reason this combo works so well with these levels is because Condescension scales so well. And then we have Apex Predator for increased max health, which is always good for warding off those pesky hit scans. And yeah, when you pair this all together, we can thrust up into the air, throw a Fire Spit out, boom, just like that. And then, yeah, we can just chill up here. I mean, look at how little booster fuel I'm consuming. And then I can thrust again, and we're back to consuming 60% less booster fuel. Throw the Fire Spit out. I got another thrust, and then another one of these, and this is all without Chronos, but it will be even stronger with Chronos. Although, honestly, like, do you even really need it? I don't know. So, yeah, that is a really fun build. This is my classic Snow Globe reset build for Evie. You just go in, and you get all kinds of crazy resets after getting a kill. So fun. So how am I managing such crazy power where all my abilities are just getting reset? Boom, get my soar back. Boom, ice block, I guess, throw in a blink, boom, and then get that reset, got another soar, and then boom, got another blink. It's crazy. Well, here's how. We have the best cooldown combo possible for Evie, which is Impact at level 5 and Killing Frost at level 3. This will give you 40% cooldown reduction on your blink and your ice block after getting an elimination, and then the combo of these two cards will give you 100% cooldown reduction on your soar. So when you get an elimination, you instantly get that reset. Now, remember when I said earlier with Androxus how his card should not go up to 100% because there's, a bit of the delay with the reversal? Well, there's none of that going on here with Evie. So if I just do this, and then soar, and then shoot Ying, if I had this card, say, at level 2 instead, that would be really bad, because then I'd only get 80% cooldown reduction on the soar. Let me get my soar back real quick. Shoot, alright, soar, and then shoot. You see, I have 2 seconds before I can soar again, so you do not want to skimp out on soar cooldown reduction, so make sure you run it at level 5 and at level 3. Then we have Swift Witch, a really good card because it increases her movement speed by up to almost 30% during her soar. And this allows you to be a lot more evasive, and also that movement speed leads to more traversal, especially in a shorter amount of time too, so you can really get to a lot of places that you wouldn't otherwise normally be able to with Evie. And then our filler cards are still very important. We have Cantrip and Biting Cold. Both of these cards are very important because they allow her to snowball more effectively. It means she spends less time reloading, and so she can go and chain back-to-back kills. Because you see I get ammo back on my sword, get ammo back on my sword, back up to full ammo, use my ice block, back up to full ammo again, and yeah, didn't have to reload there at all. So it just really helps out in the heat of battle when you're trying to chain those kills. It's all about reset. Is it the most effective build for Evie? At times, when you're not allowed to play so snowbally, no, it's not. But is it fun? Heck yeah. And it's still very effective. You do have to be very good at her, but that's a requirement just in general. You have to be really good at this champion. But if you are good at it, well, this build certainly pays off. Fernando! I'm going to show my Scorch build for Fernando, which, as you guys know, I am a huge Scorch advocate, because it gives you a lot of extra damage on your Fireball, allows you to confirm kills much more easily, and it also gives you vastly improved ultimate generation because of that increased damage. So yeah, Scorch, my favorite talent for Fernando, bar none. And let me show you the build for it. This is a very fun build for playing super duper aggressively. We have Hot Pursuit, which gives a 40% increased movement speed for 3 seconds after hitting an enemy with Fireball. As you can see here, we are moving very, very fast, and it's actively combating my self-slow penalty when I shoot my Flame Lance. So that is all really, really nice. And then also, if I hit an enemy with my Fireball, I get cooldown reduction on my charge. Now, it's a bit unorthodox to use Looks That Kill instead of Heat Transfer. A lot of people do prefer this card instead. I find that the general playstyle feels better to me in my head to use this card. Like, it just feels intuitive to get my charge back from hitting my Fireball. And also, ever since they nerfed the shield health of Scorch, the effectiveness of the other card, Heat Transfer, has gone down a little bit. But you can still easily swap this in for Heat Transfer if you want. It's really just up to your personal preference, and I do still have it in the build just at a lower level. Then we also have Incinerate for cooldown reduction on the Fireball. Want to get that as low as possible. You see, it's a 4-second cooldown right there. That's very nice! That's very, very nice! Especially because the Fireball is ability damage, not weapon damage. So people still tend to buy armor plating quite a lot, and yeah, this will not count for the Fireball. The Fireball will just pierce right through, so it makes the Fireball very, very valuable. You'll want to have this card at level 5 all the frickin' time with Scorch. And then lastly, we have Unstoppable Force, which is a very nice level 1 filler, because it gives your charge some extra utility. It displaces the enemies. Doesn't displace them by a lot, but it is still enough to throw them off their game. You can maybe make the enemies miss a shot. In some rare circumstances, you can knock them off the edge of the map, or into a Grumpy Bomb, or some other nefarious contraption that they don't want to be caught in. So it's a really nice sleeper card at level 1. Just put it in there, it's subtle, but it really helps out. And again, it just feels intuitive. It feels like, honestly, Fernando should be knocking people back in base kit. So yeah, really, really nice. If you're not playing Solar Blessing for Furia these days, then what the heck are you doing? I mean, it's her meta talent. Come on. They've done crazy things with the other two, and yeah, Solar Blessing is clearly better than Cherish. So yeah, the build we have looks kind of like the following. Put the beam down, then we throw the balls out. The balls give us reset on the beam, and then we throw the beam out again, and yeah, it just works in an infinite cycle. So yeah, that is made possible through Stoke the Fire, which grants us 4 seconds of cooldown reduction per enemy hit by Wings of Wrath. And then we have Ignition, which reduces the cooldowns of Wings of Wrath after hitting an enemy with Pyre Strike. And this is so we can also use the beam aggressively, like this, and that'll give us not only the ability to stun the enemies, do a bunch of damage to them, but then give us the ability to throw another beam out, and the cycle will continue, especially if we lock in Chronos there. You can see how good this feels. Bam! Bam! And then bam, and then bam, got another Pyre Strike, and then bam, throw the balls out, and then bam! And even if you're not always aiming the beam at the enemies, there's still a chance the enemies will get hit by it just randomly, or they might walk into it or get CC'd into it or something. And if you do get the enemy hit into a beam, you want to have that cooldown reduction back so you can keep churning out beams, because your beam is your most powerful ability apart from your ultimate. And then we have Solar Flare, which increases the radius of Pyre Strike, which is generally just good for both hitting enemies and allies more effectively. We have Hallowed Sight at level 1, which is pretty much all you need to get your Wrath generation if you do hit an enemy. Get them stunned under that. You see how Victor is building me so much Wrath right there? And yeah, so, I mean, I don't think you really need it much higher, although you could run it maybe at level 2 if you wanted. And then increase max health as another level 1 filler. And all this reset is just very fun to play around. There might be more optimized and efficient builds than this, but this one, you can't argue. It is pretty fun. Now for Grohk, Totemic Ward is the meta talent, a very, very fun talent, and yeah, let me show you how it is played. So yeah, you put the totems down, you do the shooting, zappy, 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 and the totems just do the work while you're busy shooting the enemies. It's a very nice hybrid playstyle for Grohk. You generally want to try and play it when you have a bunch of tanks on your team, who can really benefit from your totems being all grouped up, getting all that healing, and also benefiting from one of the best cards in the entire game, which is Spirit's Grace. If you're not using this card with Grohk, stop what you're doing right now, open Paladins, edit your Grohk builds, and put Spirit's Grace in. It's seriously that good. This card increases the movement speed of all your allies inside of the healing totems by 30% for 1 second. But it refreshes, of course, as long as you're in the totem, so just put this totem down and look at how much faster we are moving. And look at the range on it with Totemic Ward. This is so valuable because it allows your teammates to do a bunch of different things. They can attack the enemies more effectively because you can put a totem down, and then you can chase! Ah, I'm coming after you with a 30% movement speed buff, oh my gosh! You can also retreat more effectively. You put a totem down, and then you walk behind the wall more quickly, and you can evade attacks, cleanse, cauterize, all that faster. Also, when you're actively in the fight, strafing around this quickly, 30% faster, means that you have a greater chance to dodge attacks. So it just provides so much utility for your team, and look at the coverage if we want to spread the totems out. We don't get concentrated healing, but we get a massive, massive area where you get this movement speed buff, and you can just have it up pretty much all the time. Seriously, cannot understate how valuable this card is. Please do not let me catch you with a build that does not have this card in it. It's just so good. Then we also have Crackle for increased duration of the healing totems. Pretty self-explanatory. Longer totems means more healing, more movement speed. And then we have Outreach as well. And you don't want to have this card too high, but I think level 3 is good enough for all intents and purposes. Because, yeah, there are very few circumstances where you need to deploy a totem longer than this far away. That is pretty crazy range. So, yeah. Like, the maps, they don't normally have a layout where you just have a long straight that's literally this long. And even if they do have some place that's this long, normally you don't need to place the totem that far away anyways, because usually you're not that far away from your team. So, a little bit of outreach is good, but don't have it too high. And then I just have health on both myself and my healing totems as level 1 fillers. Grover is a pretty sad champion right now. They really nerfed this guy into the ground, and I'm going to show you what I guess is probably the best way to play him right now, although generally, yeah, they just need to buff him back up again. This is a selfish build for Grover. It's purely based on keeping himself alive, and by keeping himself alive, he is also able to generate healing for his team. So we have Pickup, which reduces the cooldown of Vine after hitting an enemy with Crippling Throw. Since Rampant Blooming's heal on the Vine is almost as effective as the Blossom now after the Blossom nerfs, you might as well just run this card and drop Fatalis because it scales higher and it also gives you that extra mobility. So it helps keep you alive much better too. And then on top of that, we have Bark Skin for increased max health. As you can see, I am one tanky boy. And we also have Rebound, which increases your healing received while at or below 50% health. Again, counters Cauterize and affects all of Grover's self-healing, so it's a really powerful card. There's also Overgrowth, which resets the cooldown of Vine after dropping to or below 30% health. So I can Vine over here, and then I guess I can cripple the Cassie, and then I can Vine into danger! Pew, 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 and then let her shoot me a little bit. There we go, got my Vine back, and I can Vine again. And there are some cases where you can get triple Vines with this character, just back to back to back, bit, bam, bop. And it's really satisfying and very, very powerful. So I think just playing around the Vine and playing around trying to keep yourself alive is probably the best bet for him right now, considering how badly they nerfed his Blossom. Yeah, it's just, I don't know how good it is to build for it anymore, and people have been finding success with a build like this. Now for Imani, I'm going to show you my main sort of cooldown reset build, and you can use this with any loadout, or any talent, of course. So, we throw out a Frost Bomb, boom! And then we go up into the air with a Frostfire Glide, and then boom, and then throw out the Inferno Cannon. Yeah! And then we do this again, and then by golly gee willikers, we have another Frost Bomb. Wow, look at that, and then we have another one of these. Oh my gosh. Let's fly up into the air, and then bam, and then bah! And we just do it all over and over again, and it's even faster with Chronos. So, this works by using the combination of Discipline and Draconic Will at level 5, both of which decrease the cooldown of all your abilities whenever you use Elemental Shift. And Elemental Shift has a very low cooldown, so you can potentially just spam and get what you need. But that general cycle of abilities that I showed you is a very good pattern to get into. There's also Swift Seer at level 3. I find that the base Inferno Cannon speed is just too slow, and so this card really helps with staying nimble, chasing targets, and also evading damage. You don't want to be a sitting duck with this ability, and Swift Seer helps you do that a little bit better. And then we just have Ancient Duty and Pilgrimage as level 1 fillers for some extra health and utility. Now, there are boring builds for Inara that just build for a whole bunch of survivability and nothing else. And then, there's Flying Inara! Man, I am really bad at getting up there today. So, Flying Inara is a build that allows you to use your wall to give yourself a massive boost into the air, which is great, especially on maps that have a lot of vertical platforms. You don't necessarily want to run Flying Inara on more lateral maps. I mean, I guess you could. There are some things you can do with it, but it is more helpful on a map like Serpent Beach or Timbermill. And the way we're doing this is with the card Summit at level 5, which applies a knockback to yourself, only yourself, not your teammates, not anyone else, just yourself, when you use Impasse directly underneath yourself. Well, bam. Why did that not... Dude, this part of the shooting range is so weird. It just breaks all the time. Okay, let's not worry about that. We also have Rolling Stones for reduced cooldowns after getting an elimination, which is very nice for generally getting your abilities back online. Boom, kill that Vic, and now we got a wall. And it works that time. Man, seriously, the shooting range is so buggy sometimes. But yeah, and then we can get another kill. And yeah, it just makes everything happen just a little bit faster. And then we have Sacred Ground and Plateau for some extra survivability as level 1 fillers, paired with Steadfast for extra max health, which scales really nicely with her massive damage reduction bonus while using Earthen Guard. Alright, now it's time to show you the triple Wombo combo, or at least halfway demonstrated. I wish this Fernando bot would move around. But yeah, we heal this Fernando, we give him a metric crap ton of healing, we have a lot of Moonlight in this build as well, can put down Luna to regenerate it faster, and we are giving this Fernando a bunch of damage reduction and also a bunch of movement speed, and that is through the combo of Goddess Blessing and this build, which has Swift Arrows at level 5, giving a 30% movement speed bonus to whoever I am affecting with Moonlight. Remember, Grohk's speed card also scales up to 30%, so this is another very, very powerful card. It does only affect one ally, it does not affect Io herself, so it's a little bit more limited, but it has the added bonus of you can just pop it on Fernando, and he doesn't have to stay in one zone to get it. He can go anywhere he wants, and this can apply as long as she has Moonlight on him. So that is very nice. It's a bit different to Grohk's speed card. And yeah, we also have Moonwalk for a bunch of extra Moonlight capacity. Protectors is my preferred Moonlight regeneration card because it's very powerful and I generally like playing next to Luna. However, other people would prefer to use Sanctum of Faith, which is a bit more passive and scales less, but you don't need to be standing next to Luna. Or you could also use Moonlight Garden, which generates Moonlight if you hit enemies with Light Bow. Whichever one you want, just slot in there. You don't have to use Protectors, you can use Sanctum of Faith or Moonlight Garden. The choice is up to your preference. And then, yeah, we have Restored Faith for a little bit of extra survivability, and Spirit Arrows for a little bit of cooldown reduction on Luna and her redeploys. So yeah, we can just deploy Luna there and then heal Fernando. And you see that cooldown is just ticking down a little bit faster, and yeah, don't need to build for it super high, but level 1 is just kind of nice. So Jenos is not a super great healer at the moment, especially not main healer, but he can be a valuable off support because of his very silly movement ability and also his damaging capabilities with Binary Star, because this actually does a pretty good amount of damage for a support. It's hit scan, it's consistent, it's powerful, it's nice. And so the build I like to pair with this is a build that looks like this. We have Space Jam for increased jump height while using Stellar Wind, and Starseeker for increased air control. This is what allows me to do very impressive feats of acrobatics. This air control allows me to dodge super quickly while mid-air, and it makes the enemies have a very difficult time tracking me. And this jump height also allows Jenos to get to places that he otherwise struggles to get to. Look, we can just climb that statue and get up top easy peasy. And we also pair this with increased survivability from Side Reel and Relativity, giving increased healing after applying Astromark and maximum health. And we also have Solar Sails, which provides ammo regeneration while Stellar Wind is active. And honestly, I think I probably need to have that card at level 1 and this card at level 3. there we go. So we can have a mini Astromark applied to Jenos pretty much permanently the entire match. Just passive health regeneration. And then we can kill Ying and then get a little bit of ammo back from the Astral Travel while being evasive. Go back to blasting. And yeah, it's just a very fun sort of off-support playstyle for Jenos. Ugh, Kasumi. I don't even think I have any builds that are actually mine. I think I just stole other people's builds. Yeah, none of these are mine. Oh boy. Well, I'm showing you Shure's build in this case, because Shure is pretty much the only Kasumi main I know of, and Shure does a pretty good job of playing Kasumi with this build. So this is an Empowered Curse build, and it allows you to... What does it even do? It allows you to deal extra damage with your Savage Tear based on the amount of curse stacks you have on the target. Gives you a little bit of extra max health, a little bit of cooldown reduction on body and soul. Betrayal for cooldown of Savage Tear, so you have even more uptime on your damage output. And then Surrounded by Fear is a very good level 1 filler card because every 30 seconds you get a boost to how quickly you can ramp up and get 5 stacks on an enemy, just like that. So 1 shot, and then Savage Tear will get you up to 5 stacks very quickly. Or you can go the route of shanking, and then Savage Tear to finish, and that bonus damage will do just over 600 damage there and kill the victor. So, in general, a very comfortable Kasumi build, and it allows you to do a lot of very nefarious things. Khan! Ah! Battle shout! This guy is a very, very good tank, and there are a lot of options you have for different builds for this character. You can run ammo, you can run general survivability, or you could experiment with the battle shout like I've done recently. I still don't know how good it is to, like, increase the healing you get from that, but it's there, you know? But the build I want to showcase for you is my classic Bulletstorm build, which has cooldown reduction on battle shout, which I would say is his most powerful ability. Then we also have increased health and increased healing received while Bulwark is active, which, like all the other healing received buffs, counters Cauterize. So you can put this up, and even if you have Cauterize on you, you will still be countering that. And then once Cauterize has been cleansed, you will just be getting a bunch of extra healing while your shield is up. So you can take a lot of damage, put your shield up, have your healer heal you, and then you can battle shot yourself the rest of the way there. Very comfortable play style. It does lack a little bit of ammo. I've still tried to put some of that into the build, but some people would prefer to have more ammo, and you could tweak these cards around to have more ammo if you prefer. Or you could just go for one of my viewers' builds, which is Need More Bullets, which just has excessive force at level 5. It pretty much drops cooldown on battle shot to level 1 in favor of ammo instead. So you can run that as well if you want. Kinessa is a very strong champion right now, obviously. After her rework, she is, well, killing things very, very quickly. And yeah, we can augment that power with a build that looks like this. So we have True Grit for healing with a fully charged sniper mode shot, Headstrong for increased maximum health, and then Prodigy, which increases your movement speed by 125% while in sniper mode. So it actively overpowers the movement speed penalty and then gives you a bonus 25% on top of that. And this enables bunny hopping with Kinessa, where you do this sort of motion with your jumping and your scoping. Takes a little bit of practice. I've got it down to muscle memory, and I can't even tell you whether the jump or the right click comes first. But yeah, this bunny hopping is very powerful general evasive mobility for Kinessa, and in general, just moving faster while you're scoped in makes it so that you're less of a sitting duck. And the increased healing per fully charged shot is very nice, because her charge rate got increased. So you can get that very consistently, and that provides you a lot of extra self-sustain. And what you can actually do is you can pair it with Life Rip to get a very powerful effect, because True Grit is not lifesteal. This is a flat heal for your sniper shots. So it doesn't matter how much damage you deal to the enemies. If they have damage reduction, you'll still heal for 200. It's completely separate to Life Rip. And that means there are no diminishing returns. So if I get shot by Cassie here a few times and then charge a fully charged shot, 800 damage. I have 80% lifesteal. What the heck? Because I'm pairing it with Life Rip, which gives 60%. And then the 200 works out to be an additional 20% of the sniper mode damage. So this, yeah, obviously is very, very powerful. And Kinessa is a champion who can actually get away with using lifesteal very efficiently because she sits in the back, so she can take a bunch of damage, and then she can kind of hide behind a wall, wait for Cauterize to cleanse, and then she can peek with a fully charged shot and quickly just tag someone and get a big burst of healing. So this allows Kinessa to be extremely survivable, as well as generally evasive with Prodigy, so it's just a very nice combo. And then we have Generator for more cooldown reduction on Oppressor Mines, and Open Season, which is a fantastic level 1 filler. As long as you're hitting fully charged sniper shots, you will never ever run out of ammo. Because, if I just expend all my ammo here real quick, except for one, you only need one shot to actually deal a full sniper shot. So you only need to have the card at level 1, you don't need to run it any higher, and you will never run out of ammo as long as you do not accidentally just fire off a half shot like that. Now, there are a bunch of different, but very similar at the same time, builds for Koga that all revolve around his best talent by far, which is Adrenaline Junkie, which generates extra stamina for every 80 damage done with your submachine guns, allowing you to have much greater uptime on your abilities. And what I like to pair this with is a hybrid build, which allows Koga to use both his SMGs and his claws very effectively. We have Swift Hands, which reduces the time it takes to enter and exit Dragon Stance, very good card. And we also have Wanted for ammo regeneration while agility is active, and this is paired with Trained Killer only at level 3 to regenerate ammo while in Dragon Stance. And if you didn't want to do that, you could swap it out for health instead, but the reason I do have that is because we can do this. Agility, spam out crazy amounts of SMG damage, and then switch to claws, And switch back in, we have a full clip, and we can just get back to blasting. And, alright, switch back into claws. There we go. And then switch back into SMGs, use agility again. And we just have an infinite cycle of damage and abilities. And it is very satisfying and fun. And, ooh, can I eke out another claws? Yes, I can. I'm trying to do as much as I can without reloading. Eventually you will dwindle, especially when you miss shots and stuff like that, but it's a very fun cycle to get into. Alright, now it's time to show you my main Lex build, because I'm such a good Lex player, right? He's totally not like my almost lowest level flank or anything. Pah, no. But yeah, this loadout can be used with any talent. So Discovery, Death Hastens, I guess you don't want to play Heroism right now, period, and yeah, just don't play this talent, but I guess you could use this loadout with it. But I do prefer to use Death Hastens because it's just my preferred weapon for Lex. It feels better for me to use. And the build looks like this. We have Juke Boots for extra health, Wicked Don't Rest for cooldown reduction on the combat side, Warrants Out for movement speed after combat side ends, Assail for a little bit of ammo regeneration after activating In Pursuit. This leads into a very nice combo with Death Hastens that I'll show you in a sec, and Justice served as a level 2 filler for getting some extra healing. So, we can shoot. Pew, 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 bye-bye Ying, pew, pew, I'm out of ammo. Oh no, use In Pursuit, it doesn't use ammo. Oh, and then guess what? I have my ammo back from my level 2 card, and we can keep blasting just like that, and only now do I run out of ammo, and we almost killed 3 people. So, yeah, it's just very nice. If your aim is good, then you can clean up a few kills before needing to reload. And, you know, not needing to reload as much is generally a very good thing. You don't want to have to interrupt your flow of damage output. Ugh, Lian is stupid. No, that's the name of my build. People tend to forget. Lian used to be the champion I absolutely despised before I hated 7. I even had Darkseeker go and make a diss track for her. That was a very weird time. But yeah, this is my Eminence build for Lian, which has Heraldry and Inheritance, and also a little bit of utility with Noble Crest, Heir to Throne, and Superiority. And it allows you to do this! Boom! Kill Ying, instantly get my presence back just like that. It's a presence spam build. There's nothing really much more to it. You just are spamming presence like there's no tomorrow. Is it the best Lian build? No. Actually, it isn't. But is it fun? Yeah, it's reasonably fun. I do tend to enjoy it. Okay, and now it's time for Lillith, another champion who I'm not super comfortable on. You'll notice that some of these champions that I don't normally play, they probably aren't the most optimized builds in the world. You probably should consult a Lillith main rather than me for a build, but this should at least serve as a starting point, and it's a decently viable build. Now, one thing to note, you do not want to be playing Curse of the Cord. This talent increases the cooldown of both of your abilities. Not good. Not good at all. Especially not now that Rejuvenate increases your self-healing with Hex, so you have even less of a need to decrease the blood cost of your abilities. So this is a build meant for Murderous Intent, and with this build, you basically just get movement speed for your allies while within Swarm, a little bit of extra blood health so you can do more things, and Waning Moon to reduce the blood cost of Swarm while an ally is marked by Blood Hex. And if you're a very astute Lillith player, you might notice, well, hey, wait a minute. You actually haven't updated this build since you got a rework. And yeah, that's exactly right. And honestly, it's still a pretty decent build. Probably not like the best, but listen, man. I got nothing better. I just don't care about this champion. I'm sorry. You want me to make a video about every champion? Well, hey, it's hard for me to do that when there are some champions I just don't like. But, yeah, this build should do just fine. Put this down and you give movement speed to your teammates and you spam swarms more because of the hex efficiency thing that this does. And yeah, it's Lillith. I don't want to end on a bad note, so let's move on to Maeve, a champion who I actually haven't had to make new builds for, apart from when they added Artful Dodger in Truly Talented, and I went and actually made a build just for that, which has On Edge. But yeah, that's not what we're here to talk about. That's for a limited time mode. That's not for right now. So right now I want to show you my Rogue's Gambit build, which I showcased in my Maeve guide, which... yeah, I still use every single build in that guide, and it's a few years old now. She just hasn't had that many changes, so, you know, I haven't needed to change them. They're perfectly good builds. And this build gives damage reduction after using Pounce, which is very nice for Maeve, since she does generally tend to be squishy. I also have Savagery for a little bit of increased healing throughout the match. Chase for movement speed bonus while using Prowl, I found that to be very helpful. And Scamper for even more movement speed after using Pounce. So it's generally all about moving and being reasonably self-sufficient. And yeah, you can just do normal Maeve things, and do them a bit better. You're a bit tankier, right? Do that, boom, get my Pounce back, and I can just do that, and then get my Prowl, and I'm moving a little faster during my Prowl, and then I have my Pounce back because of Rogue's Gambit, which is my favorite talent, because it is fun for snowballing and mobility, and that's what I like. It's not her meta loadout, because normally you want to play Cat Burglar with a build that looks like this, which has Predation. And yeah, this is the better play style for Maeve, but hey, I'm here to showcase my favorite builds, and Rogue's Gambit is my favorite build, so that's the one I'm going to show you instead, but it is a lot harder to play as well, so if you're a beginner for Maeve, then maybe, yeah, stick to Cat Burglar. And yeah, that's where we're going to have to end this video, because apparently, I am very long-winded when it comes to my explanation of these builds, and there are simply too many champions and paladins. We got through about half of them, so I'm going to make a part 2 to this video, and if you guys want to see my builds for the rest of the cast, like this mystery build for Zhin, whoa, what the heck am I doing? That's crazy. Then yeah, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss part 2 when it eventually comes out. And yeah, if you like this video, then like the video as well. Comment down below what your favorite build was. And yeah, if you want to support the channel and keep me what I'm doing full time, then there are a number of ways you can do that. You can click the join button to join the memberships program, linked in the description down below. And you can choose your price and get a bunch of perks as a result to keep the channel's lights on. Alternatively, you can go to the Nexus, nexus.gg/AndrewChicken, and you can buy crystals and support the channel directly that way as well. It's officially affiliated with Evil Mojo, so yeah, if you were planning on buying crystals anyways, you might as well do it there. And yeah, give a portion of the proceeds to me. Wouldn't that be nice? I'd really appreciate it, so. Yeah, and lastly, follow the Discord server, and also join the Twitch channel. Or excuse me, that's backwards. Yeah, join the Discord server and follow the Twitch channel. And with all that being said, thank you guys for watching. I will see you all next time. Peace out.